Hello, listeners.
Hey, viewers.
And this week, in fond tribute of the late Harold Ramis, Gabriel has decided to play Ghostbusters for the Sega Mega Drive for us.
The first really good Ghostbusters game.
Why did I introduce it on your behalf?
Tell me. You just seem to come out of the gate like just.
Tell us about the game.
Okay, well, there was a few Ghostbusters games. You will remember the one on the Commodore 64, the Atari.
I certainly did.
Yeah, the Atari 2600, the Master System. They all had the same basic Ghostbusters game, and it was fucking terrible.
Ghostbusters for the Commodore 64 was one of the first games I remember having digitized voice clips with C64 sound. Which you can imagine what that sounded like.
Yeah.
It was something like, "If you slide me!"
It was not a good game. For its time, it wasn't shitehouse horrible, but I don't know. I didn't really ever like it.
Well, I'll say this for this game so far. The characters look more like they do in the film than they did in the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Although Egon kind of looks like he's drawn his glasses on with a Sharpie.
Maybe you did. And so this was on the Mega Drive. Although, like, for some reason, it was incredibly racist and got rid of Winston Zedmore.
Well, they'd have to have used a whole different color palette for him.
Which would, as I've been told, double the cost of the game. Like, adding black people to games is just so expensive. That's why they don't do it.
You know, this is something I was wondering the other day. Feel free to start.
Look, it's a little super-deformed shooter platformer that has actual ghosts and stuff, and it's
That's
fun.
Fucking adorable.
Recently, there's been a lot of ghost activity happening here and there.
Well, why are you telling us? Oh, that's right, we're the Ghostbusters. That's our job.
I think Aykroyd is just nailed in this. They've got that Aykroyd-y face.
What was I saying? Oh, yes. The thing I was wondering the other day is that I seem to remember not too long ago being taught that referring to black people as coloured people was politically incorrect. Is that the case?
It's personal feeling.
Because I remember being told that. I remember being taught that even. But now I'm that's
the bomb button.
On the internet, I keep hearing about the phrase "people of colour" being the accepted phrase now.
Ignore the internet. Ignore the accepted phrasing. Look, here's the thing. It'll change from person to person. Some people will want it one way, some people want it the other, and ultimately what you're dealing with is just personal feeling. So I think you have to, like, analyze it and see, is the person saying something with hate, or are they saying something just because that's the term they think that people want? And the term changes all the time.
Well, I suppose, but the problem with using coloured is that it implies that there's two kinds of people. There is white and there is everyone else. And white isn't even that white.
There's normal and coloured.
It's a sort of whitey, peachy, pale, pinky colour. It's not white. If it were white, there would be something wrong with you. You'd be an albino. And then, ironically, you'd be...
You hear that, albinos? Yahtzee thinks there's something wrong with you.
Well, ironically,
sound off in the YouTube comments.
Ironically, you'd be prejudiced against more if you were completely white.
I don't know. Again, like, the tantrum throwing over the names is just abysmal. Like, again, like, think about, is the person saying it out of hate?
Wasn't it a shame how Harold Ramis died?
Yeah, well, it happens. He's with the infinite now.
Still, for this day and age, it was younger than his standard old age death.
Yeah, that's
What was he, 69?
I don't think he was. Was it 69?
I think he was 69. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, you turned into an Egyptian mummy.
Yep.
How racist.
Everything's racist. See, that's. It's like the, I do.
And your glasses.
Bombs! I'm not getting anything good. Fuck
and
you,
your glasses fly off when you're hurt. That's ableist.
Run away.
Are you making fun of the fact that he has to wear glasses?
Yeah.
That he has a vision defect game? Check your privilege,
You can't
Sega
call it
Genesis.
a defect, man. That presumes superiority on the part of the functionally sighted.
You're right, I'm sorry. Bodily...
Apologize!
Alternative bodily layout?
Visually interesting. Ocularly unique.
Genetically alternative.
Genetically altered. I like that one.
Yes. That's the new term for Down syndrome, perhaps.
Chromosomally lucky. But yeah, I have an infinite lives cheat on because this.
Of course you do.
Well,
because you're a scrub.
Fuck you. This game is actually a little bit brutal, but in that kind of fun, old-timey way.
So is this the hotel in the film?
No. I think this is called Home Sweet Home. This is someone's house.
And I've seen pop culture convention costumes that put more effort into the proton pack than this sprite does.
Yeah, it's just a simple little one. Spikes aren't good.
I saw it when he turned his back. It's just a blue rectangle.
That's a Mega Drive, man. You know,
it's like a slab. It doesn't mean
they
you
had
couldn't
to do a lot with less.
Doesn't mean you could have put lots of little twiddly bits.
I mean, it's impressive they've bothered to render different Ghostbusters and give them different sort of stats. Like, that's...
I suppose. Please get rid of the ghosts. It's your fucking job.
Yeah. I can buy things from a horrible Asian character.
Was this a Japanese developed game?
Yes.
They like their super-deformed, don't they?
Yeah, and I think it suits. So basically, yeah, there's a little bit of openness to the game, so you can go out, you can buy new weapons, so you're not just using the little shitty, you know, regular shot here.
So you're basically like a blue-collar contractor who showed up and said, "Oh well, I didn't bring the right parts for this job, so I'll be back on Friday week." Don't put bags over your head, children.
Alright, that's not it. That's right, now I remember there's a hole you gotta jump through.
What's your favourite Harold Ramis film?
Groundhog Day.
Ah, that's the correct answer.
Yeah, that is.
Because of course he had a much grander career behind the camera than in front.
Groundhog Day is fantastic, because after he, the story goes that after his first marriage sort of fell apart, he really got into Zen Buddhism, which, god fucking damn it, which you can really see in Groundhog Day, because that is, I mean, so many religions claim it to be a wonderful sort of exercise in their faith. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, you know, when you say so many religions, I'm not saying like the Pope said, "Oh, hey, Groundhog Day."
Well, it does carry a lot of I'd say, slightly irreverent religious themes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like that whole scene where Phil claims to be God.
Well, I mean, it's the path he takes. He goes from.
It is a traditional sort of deity creation myth sort of story, isn't it? Like the whole gone through the. You have to go through like a sequence of troubles, like this, like the Siddhartha Buddha.
Well, it's the progress from indulgence to self-destruction, and then finally to
redemption.
Yeah, and not just redemption, but like building
and enlightenment.
Yeah, yes. Enlightenment. Which is pretty much exactly how I try to run my life these days.
Jesus never really.
Now look, it's a ghost. Oh, I gotta catch him. Oh, I gotta come in.
Jesus never really had that arc, did he? He was just great from the get-go. To the point that fucking kings were coming and looking at how great he was.
Shit.
But there's no way to cross the streams in this game. That's the important part.
Cross the streams was a bit of a loosely defined thing in the first movie.
Is there co-op multiplayer in this?
No.
Did you ever play Ghostbusters, the most recent video game?
A little.
They worked crossing the streams into the gameplay.
Oh, cool.
But it was actually really annoying as a gameplay mechanic because you got 3 NPCs zapping wherever the hell they like.
Yeah, that game looked chaotic.
It was chaotic, but then I guess that was kind of the point, because that's how the use of the proton packs looked in the films. It looked extremely chaotic. Of course, the problem with that is that it does not make a great game mechanic to be utterly chaotic, does it?
I think there's a lot of situations where absolute accuracy to the film, the source material, or to reality is not a good idea.
It's always the problem the tie-in runs into.
Yeah.
So you're now fighting Spore Spawn from Super Metroid?
Yeah, but with sort of a comedic bend.
Yay.
Looks kind of like a Muppet. Die. I've got infinite health, so it doesn't matter.
Harold Ramis lent his voice to Ghostbusters, the game, the new one, as well as all the other former Ghostbusters. I'm surprised Bill Murray did it, because Bill Murray is really hard to reach.
He's a bit of a bastard, yeah.
That's one thing I heard, actually, that Bill Murray was kind of estranged from Harold Ramis, like, for the last couple of decades of Harold Ramis's life.
Yeah. I was trying to get him to do one or two little things.
Which is a shame, but then Bill Murray is kind of estranged from all of reality in many ways.
It's just,
Oh, that was kind of dark. His eyes fell out.
Yeah, and it also... Bing!
Look at your cheeky Japanese photo snap there. And continuing to look exactly like Harold Ramis.
Thank you very much. This is a token of my gratitude.
Thank you very much, woman wearing towel draped over her head.
I love, like, this is a token of my gratitude. No, this is what you pay me for doing the job.
Yes.
If a ghost tangles with me, it'll be his last mistake.
I always wonder, when I get off the bus, is it accepted etiquette to say thank you to the bus driver? Because I see a lot of people do it, but I've paid the bus driver. Surely our dealings are concluded when I leave the bus. I'm not thanking him for something he's done out of like the bottom of his heart. Sometimes bus drivers have given me free rides, and I've said thank you as I got off, as is fitting. But if I've paid for the ride... Well, help me out here, Mr. Socially Adept
I
person.
bet hookers love you.
What, is that how you were taught? Once you get down from table, you have to say thank you so much for this lovely sex.
Well, no, but I mean, I don't know. Is it an effort for you to go like, hey, like I just wave my hand and go thank, sort of acknowledgement. It's acknowledgement, It's treating a person like a human being by acknowledging that they share humanity.
Well, when I stand up, it's so that the driver knows I want to get off.
Yeah.
If that's what you mean by acknowledgement.
No, not stand up, but like, I just raise my hand as a little like, thanks, mate. Like, kind of a... You don't have to. I mean, I don't think, he's not going to shut the door and ask you where your manners are. Even though he should. You horrible person. I mean, is this a British thing? Because I had a British girlfriend that said that saying goodbye to the bus driver, thanks to the bus driver was weird, and then she did it a bunch when she got back to England, and all of her UK friends made fun of her. Well,
I was a little bit thrown just by being asked how my day's going by shopkeepers when I first got to Australia. I think we've discussed this in the past.
Australia cares, except if you're kind of brown, in which case you can get fucked.
But anyway, why is it all icy now?
Because I'm in this dude's house, and he said the place was full of water, and then it got really, really cold.
Does this game have a Metroidvania-y aspect? I mean, I see, like, the leave the missions, go to the shop thing, but can you, like, go back to old missions and open new areas?
No.
Okay, then.
Yeah, I mean, there's...
I noticed there
it feels like there would be that, but there isn't.
I noticed there was a map screen, so I wondered.
Hey. That's just how you pick your stages. You go, what's this stage? Oh, this is a house. Yes. That was the most thrilling recap of anything ever. Ooh,
yes, this is a house.
Would you like some of the intercourse?
I suppose it depends on context. Like, if something very large has just fallen from the sky and crushed your witch sister, the phrase, oh, it's a house, could be said with some enthusiasm.
Ah, it's a house.
So, I don't know, fucking hell, it's a house!
Fucking doodle-doo. Look at these little guys.
What? Why are you fighting Dig Dug?
I don't know. I think that's Dig Ball, that's his cousin. Where are you going? Come back. Open up the other spot.
You bastards.
Jerks. Help, Egon.
I don't think they're on board. Is there no way you can destroy blocks? Apparently not.
That's, wait,
there you go. There you go.
You little rapscallion. Shit.
Now what?
Come on, you little fucking nugget. Take my thing away.
Think about this, Mr. Bollock.
Yeah. I'm done with those. Those look like they're on loan from another game. Like, that's the funny thing about this. Like, there's bits of this that are clearly, like, quite good Ghostbusters inspired, and then bits that are clearly just random little monsters from any Japanese shooter.
I don't recall there ever being an enormously strict style guide when it came to the appearance of ghosts in the Ghostbuster films. There were a lot of wacky looks they had rocking. Well, like, compare, like, the library ghost to Slimer, for example, or to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow. God damn it.
What are your feelings on Ghostbusters 2, the film?
It's the Hangover 2 of the 80s. Like, it's just... I think it was 1991.
Was it?
Yeah, at any rate, it's exactly the same movie.
Do you think?
It's literally the same fucking film.
Well, I always found that whole sequence at the end of Ghostbusters 2 where all the New Yorkers are trying to get very happy very fast. I always found it rather cringeworthy.
Yeah, that's because the movie was belly butt.
Yes.
Again, it was...
I was about to say it was really gay, but that is the wrong attitude, isn't it?
Completely and totally faggoty.
But wait.
Just,
gay means...
Fucking damn it.
Gay used to mean happy, didn't it? So it still stands. It was just too happy for my liking.
Well, that's what I like about, like, there are people who'll try to lock words down into singular meanings.
I got nothing.
Word means this.
I got nothing against people being happy as long as they do it behind closed doors and not around my kids.
Yeah, I don't want them teaching them about, like, joy and optimism.
Exactly. I don't want them teaching about diseases you can get from joy and optimism, like, I don't know, smile syndrome. What?
I'm gonna get you. Yeah!
Finally, you do your fucking job.
I've got it.
Catch a ghost.
Oh, Jesus. Egon looks like he's been hollowed.
Dark Souls joke. I was just trying to think of what it looked like. It looked like someone's embarrassing passport photo they show you about 20 years later.
God damn it.
I mean, he had bangs, for God's sake. Egon doesn't have bangs. He sweeps his hair back. Like me.
You have an Egon-y quality about you. Not Ramis. Egon, very specifically Egon.
That would have worked if you hadn't stopped me.
Yahtzee did try to drill into his own brain once.
Well,
went about as well as you can expect.
What would you have done? I did have a chemistry set when I was a kid. And I remember once, as a kid, like, genuinely harbouring the secret desire to eat everything in it. But I think this was a turning point in my emotional development, because I picked up one of the test tubes and then thought, better not, and put it down again.
Somewhere out there's a you with magical superpowers as a result of that action.
Well, you know, when I got bored of the chemistry set, I just mixed all the shit together and threw it on the garage floor.
What happened?
It just fizzed a bit. I was disappointed.
Well, at least it fizzed a bit.
And then we had to clean it up.
Give me a face.
Anyway,
your face.
Let's talk topic.
Peter Molyneux has become self-aware.
Ah, yes. A recent quote from Peter Molyneux in which he described Fable 3 as, this is his exact word, a train wreck.
Which makes me... Alright, so here's the problem. He's become self-aware, but he's just going hyperbolically in the opposite direction.
Ah, you said bollock.
Bollockly. Bollock-lickery. Balls.
Yes, alright, continue.
He's just gone hyperbolically in the other direction, which isn't helping. Like, Fable 3 was not a train wreck. Fucking...
Well, it had one good idea badly mishandled with the whole thing where you actually defeat the evil king and become the king. But then the evil king says, hey, evil Lovecraftian thing's going to come and eat us all in a year. Bye! And then you have to decide whether you're going to be really frugal so you'll have the money to fight it, or let all your people be happy.
That's right, and then it does a time jump really suddenly with no warning.
Yeah, that was really fucking annoying, but what was even more annoying is that holding on to the money so you'd be able to defeat the Shoggoth at the end of the year was still considered the evil path.
That's interesting.
When Peter Molyneux, it seems, doesn't really understand moral complexity.
No, that's I mean, I'm willing to bet it's fucking hard to implement, but a game where the moral questions are more than just, you know, blatantly good and blatantly fucking evil would be nice.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I thought it was doing. That's what impressed me about it. Because
fighting a fucking ice gorilla?
I always wondered why you couldn't just do frugal policies just for the year, and then, you know, sandwiches and cake for immediately after you've defeated the Shoggoth.
You could probably sell that to a population too. Like, if the government was like, okay, we need to, like, crank taxes a little bit to fight.
Yeah, I want to know why he never brought it up. Why he never used that as a draw card.
Yeah. There's a thing coming.
Yeah, we're going to die if we don't do this.
Fucking monster. Be like, oh shit, yeah, but we've got to put money into the monster fund. Because monster.
And then Fantasy Fox News will be on your side.
No, Fantasy Fox News would still be like, oh, fuck you and your monster.
Why are the liberal papers so against monster fighting? Do you want us all to be killed by a monster? And for once, they'd actually be right. But
they'd be like Peter for monsters.
You know, the good options during that year were like, do you want to pay a load of money to make sure this lake doesn't get polluted? It's just, and for no better reason, because it looks pretty. It's going to look a whole lot less pretty a year from now when it's bloated with our corpses. But I think we got sidetracked a bit there. Point is, Peter Molyneux actually came out and said that he has a problem. And the first step is admitting it.
Yeah.
He has a problem where he always talks a bit too much about his game before it's out.
Well, not talks a bit too much, but you can't call an adventure game with some tacked on fucking Sims bits.
Management, I'd say.
Yeah. A fucking revolution, because it's not. It's a cute enough game. It wasn't a bad game. I really enjoyed Fable 2 enough. Like, I played through that. That's not so bad.
Yeah, it had its moments.
Yeah. If you just said, hey, here's a game. I mean, it's like, you set yourself up, when you raise the bar so high, you can't help but go under it.
I guess he felt pressured to, innovate, because he was always a great innovator back in the day.
Yeah.
When he brought his Syndicate and Dungeon Keeper and... You know, that's it. Maybe like the new Dungeon Keeper Online has brought on a strange perspective in him. What else did he do? Populous, very innovative. Was he Theme Hospital?
I don't know.
Well, he was Theme Park.
That's the M. Night Shyamalan trap, is like he gets known for twists, and then so suddenly every movie's got to have a twist, which then, because you know it's coming, becomes predictable. Like, that's...
Yeah.
You gotta, keep it fresh by not worrying so much. You know, don't create a you've got to live up to. That's, you know, your own personality can be the worst kind of trap, let alone anything fucking society expects.
But you know, the revelation he seems to have come to, that the thing in his head will always be much better than the thing that is actually created. I would think he should have learned that a hell of a lot sooner as a creator in the public eye.
Or just as a human being. Like, that's...
Yes.
I learned that when I couldn't draw. So I could see it in my head, and it went through some sort of retardification process, and then came out my hands all wrong.
Yeah, yes, you'd think like the very basic amount of creative ability would lead you to this conclusion pretty fast.
I'm melting!
Well, I suppose writing doesn't really have the same problem, because it's not really a visualized thing. I mean, the visualization is all being done by the reader when you're writing something. That's why I equate storytelling in novels with storytelling in video games, because it's a sort of partnership you create with the person perceiving your creative endeavour, if you see what I mean.
Yes. There is the reader is an active, you know, component in what's being read.
I mean, you're not unless it's a bad book, you're not describing every square inch of the room the characters are in. So a lot of books I've read don't describe the main character at all. So the audience just pictures whatever they want to picture. They fill in the blanks.
Special suit.
What's the special suit do
I
then?
don't know.
Who's this, and why isn't Egon not making the tools?
I don't know.
Who's
we
this?
outsourced it.
Who's this Joker?
It looks like Doc Brown, but with a mustache.
Yeah, or the Einstein scientist from Half-Life.
Alrighty, so now we've got the Woody house and a high-rise building left.
And it's funny I mentioned that, because you know the glue-on gun in Half-Life? It's like the last weapon you get. It's like a super laser with a backpack.
Yes.
Well, in the original game files, that gun is referred to as the Egon. Yes. Worlds within worlds, you see.
If you haven't seen, like, Groundhog Day, you should probably go watch Groundhog Day.
I remember reading some video game equivalent of the Wald-Newton's hypothesis.
The what?
Well, that's some like theory. I think it was Philip Jose Farmer who first came up with it, that all the major great white heroes of 20th century literature were all the products of the same genealogy.
Huh.
Like there was a single stagecoach containing the fathers of Sherlock Holmes, Indiana Jones, Alan Quatermain, and all of those was struck by lightning, and then you can trace the genealogy through time and stuff. And so the video game equivalent I was reading hypothesized that perhaps Gordon Freeman is the student of Lester Chaikin from Another World.
That's cool. I like that.
Which is an interesting. It's an interesting theory.
Fuck you,
to
Sonic,
work with.
you little fucking bastard.
Oh yes. Well, it's more of a porcupine than a hedgehog. That's a different pain sprite. When you stepped on fire there. I'm intrigued.
This game's got all those little, like, Ninja Gaiden-y platform things where it's like, this enemy's unkillable and just knocks you off.
Where did all this lava come from?
Well, it's fire, not lava.
Why aren't we watching this window maximized?
You didn't maximize it, and
well.
figured it was by your design. You could maximize, that'd be nice, actually, because I'm having to concentrate a little harder because I can't quite see.
I don't want to mess with the recording setup. It might screw up.
We'll have another one of Yahtzee's uh-ohs.
You know, this really is starting to turn into a Metroid game. All the bosses seems vaguely Metroid-y.
It feels like it was almost designed to have, like, backtracking, but then they sort of... Fuck you.
Well, I don't mean so much the Metroidvania gameplay as just the way bosses work, the way they look and act.
Well, I mean, this was a reasonably common sort of shootery...
There's a lot of retro shooters that have this kind of snake enemy because you don't have to animate it. You just put a lot of balls that form a neck.
It pops
and then move the balls independently, which I think is something sumo wrestlers do.
You're changing color. That's how I know I'm winning.
I thought it was just switching to ice magic or something.
Ice magic.
This made you have to switch to your fire-based attacks.
That means his chocolate chills on top of my ice cream. Die.
Are those all eyes in the background?
Sure. No, you're in a burning house.
It just looks like there's a whole bunch of eyes in the background watching you.
Fuck you. That was in.
Come on. You're the worst, capturing
Nah, I got him.
Ghostbuster.
Gotcha, you little fucker. Egon, help, help, Egon. Ah.
Or possibly an embarrassing high school yearbook photo. So did the other characters turn into different monsters when they die?
What?
Well, Egon turns into a mummy when he dies.
Oh, ass. No,
Did the
everyone
other
turns into a mummy.
I feel cheated.
You should. It's a horrible oversight on that part.
I bet if Winston was in the game, he'd turn into a werewolf.
He'd turn into a Blackula.
Yes.
Because of racism.
He'd turn into Super Pimp. So yes, Peter Molyneux. Thanks for joining us here in the real world, Peter. Look forward to see what you do now you've made this revelation.
He'll just here's the thing, he hasn't fixed the problem. The problem's just pointed in a different direction.
Well,
now he'll hate every one of his games. He'll go, this game's shit, don't buy it, and it'll actually turn out to be reasonably good.
Good. Hate everything you've made more than 6 months ago. That's what I do.
I missed a treasure chest. Well, I mean, that's a better way to do it anyway, because it's like me in bed. I always downplay it, and then it's always good comparatively.
Well, if you say so, just gonna have to take your word on that.
Yeah, it works. Trust Uncle Gabe. Ah, that was money. Ah, shit.
I had a point I was about to make.
No, you didn't.
No, you're probably right. Peter Molyneux finally entering the real world. It was something from there.
Dicks.
Oh, I'm sure it'll come back.
Oh, I got a life! That was not useful to me at all.
I guess Peter Molyneux's problem is that he sort of didn't really belong in an environment where there were no parameters. I mean, like we've said, parameters...
Yeah, the classic problem. If you've got loads of energy and infinite dreams, you need limits.
Parameters promote creativity, and with the parameters he was given in, 2D, he could make stuff like Theme Park and Dungeon Keeper and
Populous.
all that. But when he was given no parameters, and all the, as near as no parameters you can get when gaming technology developed...
Ah, dick butter.
He was making Fable, and suddenly his role in gaming... Which was to make the most out of what we had, was suddenly obsolete. What a tragic tale.
He became a slightly silly parody of himself.
Well, yes, but at least he's a self-aware one now,
yep.
which probably means he'll be a lot less funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's kind of neutralized the joke.
I hate it when they try to be in on the joke, like William Shatner.
Shatner.
Ha ha! Look at me! I'm the emperor with no clothes. Me, look how naked I am. And all the townspeople aren't laughing anymore.
Oh,
they just kind of feel sorry for the guy.
Yep, joke's over. God, bollocks.
Well, I concede that I can see why we needed the infinite lives cheat now.
Told ya.
Because you're shit at games.
Yeah. This game is not your friend. I'm fighting a fire ninja.
I know it's not my friend, it's a game. I have few friends among games. Yes.
Alright, have you got some topics?
Well, I had another one, yes.
Good. Because I'm actually having to think. Which is fucking difficult.
Yeah, so it's always hard for you.
Yeah.
I don't want to make fun of you for it, because that would be ableist.
Yeah.
So
just because I'm grossly incompetent doesn't mean you shouldn't let me be a surgeon.
You're just alternatively intelligent.
Yeah. I went to the University of the Streets in Queensland.
You have the simplistic wisdom of a caveman.
Yeah. The Shakespeare's fool. I have that kind of...
Exactly. You couldn't direct a light opera, but you could damn well make a fire.
Mm.
If someone gave you matches.
Yeah, I need matches. I can't make fire. What am I, Bear Grylls?
Well, so much for that.
Yeah.
I bet you drink your own piss, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we could all do that.
It's fucking weird not to.
Well, my other topic... Excuse me while I get my iPad, which I foolishly left under the recording device. Back in a second, microphone. Now I have it. My second topic was that
Where were you when Yahtzee sat up?
My topic was that I read an interview posted on the Ubi blog, which I can only presume is Ubisoft's equivalent of Nintendo Power, with Lucien Solban, the head writer on such games as Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon.
Which was awesome.
Which is a good game, you should check it out.
Yeah, it's astonishing, because Far Cry 3 feels like the DLC, and Blood Dragon feels like the actual game that was made for.
I don't know how you can say that, because Blood Dragon is way shorter.
Yeah, but it actually is a better game.
I think Far Cry 3 is a fine game in its own way, and I think Blood Dragon is just a nice little... It's like you've had the nice meal, and Blood Dragon is like the little dessert you can have afterwards. I mean, you've had your serious character arc, now here's a lovely pudding.
There were bits of Far Cry 3 I really liked, like the sudden boss fight against the giant like hallucination, but then like they pissed away all the hate that they had you directed at what was his name, Vargas?
Vaughn. Was it Vaughn? Or was it Vars?
Vaughn, Vars. Vars, I think it was Vars.
No, Vaughn was the main character of Final Fantasy XII, I remember now.
Alright. Scarface McFarlane, that can be his name. Because you hated him. Like, they actually really managed to make a fucking dislikable character.
I wouldn't say I hated him. I just wanted to put him down like a mad dog.
Yeah, I mean like sort of the theoretical you, not you personally. Like,
yeah,
you know,
and then they just
successfully create a character you fucking loathe. And
then they introduced another villain that you had to defeat.
All right.
That you had to defeat in the last third of the game. Yes.
Yeah.
Although I would argue that the central part of that plot, I mean, Vars is what draws you in, but the centralized part of the plot is the main arc of the main character. But that's just me. But anyway, the Blood Dragon was sort of takeoff of 1980s science fiction, starring Michael Biehn, playing a parody of himself.
I honestly thought it was a Michael Biehn impersonator, and then it was Michael Biehn, which...
Biehn.
Is it Biehn? I thought it was Biehn.
I looked this up.
Oh, okay.
I consulted several guides, and they said it's Biehn.
Looked at the internet.
It's Mr. Biehn. So, and yes, the writer apparently is openly gay, Lucien Solban, and he made the statement in his interview that he predicts that openly gay video game characters may still be a long way off. Because he was saying that, you know, the marketers are afraid of it. They're afraid of losing the sales.
Marketers are mostly idiots, I mean...
Well, you say that, but people are also mostly idiots, so marketers probably know what they're talking about.
But the thing is...
Set a thief to catch a thief.
The kind of... It's one of those things where I feel like it's always been the crazy idiots who are loudest, and that means they're the only ones you hear.
Well, yes, vocal minority and all that.
And I think that's a problem, because it's like how JCPenney have done, like... You know, ads featuring like "God help us, a lesbian couple with children."
I think
the crazy religious nuts were like, "Hey, you can't do that," and normal people started saying shit back because you can do it on the internet now for very little hassle.
I think this is a different issue to what we're talking about, though.
No, because I think the marketers are listening to the loud cretins more, because the normal people, like, you know, it wouldn't occur to a normal person to have to write in and say, "Hey, that's good, keep doing that." You know, like, it's just one of those things where it's like, I have a life and I'm not a fucking bigoted piece of shit, so...
I guess it's the squeaky wheel that gets the grease.
I mean, the thing is, like, also...
Well, my point is, I wonder how many characters you could just assume are homosexual just because they make no actual signs of their sexuality in the course of the entire game.
Well, yeah, I mean, how relevant is sexuality to a video game character? I mean, there are already a few games where you can be homosexual. I mean, didn't you have a gay relationship in one of them?
Oh, yes. My beloved Anders. Why'd you have to be such a dick in the game outro? Dragon Age...
break your heart.
Dragon Age 2. But yes,
Dragon Age 2, yes.
Yes, there are a lot of games where you can be gay, but always as part of a smorgasbord of sexuality.
Well, that's at least...
The Mass Effect,
you know, I think for games where they're ego inserts, like a game where you're...
In a lot of ways, I just think it's easier. It's easier than keeping track of whether the main character's male or female or not. Yeah. Just let them shag whoever. Yeah. I mean, that's what the Fable games do as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone's bisexual in those games.
Where am I going?
Peter Molyneux just takes the position that anyone who's not gay for you just haven't given enough presents to yet.
That's how sexuality works.
Does Peter Molyneux have kids? That's a frightening thought.
Yeah, actually.
You can bet he really talked them up before they were coming out of the womb, didn't he?
And this is Jesus. This is Jesus again. My wife's giving birth to Jesus.
This one's basically going to be the greatest child in the world. The innovation going into this child, you just can't believe it. This child, get this child will eat things, and then the matter it eats will be converted into matter that processes the body.
It's brilliant.
It's never been seen before.
I've given it more mitochondria.
Oh,
hey.
blimey. That's slightly nightmarish.
Isn't this one of your monsters? Ah, shit dicks.
Well,
no, get out.
Well, mine isn't on fire.
Well, see?
Because that's just not subtle enough. Giant face was chasing you down a corridor, fine. Set it on fire, trying too hard. I was going to say it reminds me of that wall monster guy from Nightmare, but never mind, no one will get that.
References only you get are great. I like those, they're fun.
Like the Poddington Peas.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Actually, the other two guys on the British expat panel at the Escapist Expo knew what I was talking about.
I'm just happy with my Round the Twist references.
Yeah. That's it, though. Australia fair.
Pretty much.
Yes, there are games where you can be gay as part of a smorgasbord of sexuality, I suppose, but there's a lot of characters like Marcus Phoenix, for example, who never does anything sexual at all because he's a macho twat. I
mean, Marcus Phoenix could be gay. You could tell me Marcus Phoenix was gay and be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you could pull what's called a Dumbledore, yes.
Turned out he was gay all along!
Oh god, they pulled a Dumbledore on us.
Well, the thing about the sexuality aspect of not just video games, but all creative media, is it reminds me a bit of Australia's cultural cringe. And if you haven't read the cultural cringe essay, people, you should probably read that.
Do tell us about the cultural cringe.
Well, essentially, when a group is so hyper-aware of something, it makes it impossible to act in honest creativity because you're always going to either be... You're going to be really, really, really hyper-conscious of it. So, like, Australia doesn't really have a coherent culture yet, because there's the Aboriginal cultures, of which there are actually many and a wide variety. The sort of Anglo cultures that came in about 200 years ago. 200 years, and then we keep getting fresh people. Like every 20 years, we get like a big dose of immigration.
Yes,
which
although
is actually
we're doing our best to avoid that this time, aren't we?
Which is actually a lovely thing and wonderfully beneficial. But of course, why?
Yes,
why encourage that when you can fearmonger?
Stick to the point.
So basically, Australia doesn't really have Australian. It's a hard thing to point to. You can't point to Australian. So
that's what
everything
I've
it does
always,
is really forced.
I've always felt there's no real such thing as Australian cuisine, is there? Unless you count meat pie floaters and lamingtons.
Well, even then, these are all either imports or like mashups. That's kind of what Australia does, is imports and mashups, and I think that's great. Like mashups, like the weird combinations you get are fantastic and interesting.
It's a true melting pot nation in a way America has never been able to do, despite claims.
But I think it's wonderful thing. Anyway, it's that problem of when people were making face is dead. When people were making producing works of like literature and art in Australia in the sort of pre-80s.
Yes.
You were torn between either really looking like you were trying to ape your colonial forebears, or whether you were really awkwardly trying to shoehorn in Australianness.
Yes, I see what you mean.
And that's coming across in the sexuality problem is, in order to make a character in a game that's gay and not have it feel like it's someone going, "Gay character, look everybody, isn't it interesting?"
Well, the moment you do draw attention to it, you're sort of already sensationalizing it, aren't you?
Well,
I mean, there's very few cases in which you could draw attention to a character's sexuality in a video game, and it's relevant to the plot.
Well, it's something...
Unless, like, the love interest is the same sex as the main character, but again, that also can come across as forced.
I mean, I like stories from alternate perspectives, because A, it's interesting to see things that I maybe haven't considered, and B, I've discovered that, doing a lot of women's lit and stuff like that, I've discovered that the stories are actually quite universal. Like, the things that are written about the pains, the joys, and all this are all really just very familiar. There's no great difference between all of us, and I think that, that's very reassuring, and I think a lovely thing to have, spread more.
I suppose. I mean, if it's a story, I mean, surely everyone can appreciate a love story regardless of the genders of the participants. Well, that's why I appreciated my gay love story in Dragon Age 2, even though I myself am a fan of the Lady Flan.
Lady Flan.
Yes, that's what it's called now.
Flange.
I would argue that, whether or not a character is gay is kind of irrelevant to pretty much everything one might do in a video game.
Well, it's the problem of... There wouldn't be gay pride if they hadn't been made to feel ashamed of themselves. It's like left-handedness. Like, if someone wanted to have a left-handed rally, you'd look at them like they're a nut job.
Yeah.
But the problem is that when you scream at someone and tell them that an inherent aspect of them is wrong and horrible, that reflects back eventually as, you know, a very forward pride movement.
Well, there was a time when left-handed people...
1600s or something?
Actually, it was actually fairly recently there were still people being forced to write right-handed if they were.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's muddying the issue.
Well, I mean, fuck, back when my parents were born, being a bastard was still a thing.
Well, yeah.
That's fucking... I'm a bastard. My parents weren't married.
I understand gay pride, yes. But Stay Puft.
Yep, he's in the stage.
Well, you have to put him in somewhere, don't you?
Well, I mean, come on. Stay Puft!
I mean, when they...
you fucking bastard.
I mean, when they just threw him into the cartoon series apropos of nothing as well. He's just back now, don't question it.
I love happy, smiley villains, like, just with that kind of, like, not... creepy smile, like, oh, I'm going to enjoy cutting your scalp off, but just like, I'm just happy, like, that's just...
Hello, I love you!
Yeah.
Smash.
I love you! Stop! Things don't go in there.
So yes, as I was saying, I understand gay pride, but I almost think it's sort of misapplied to video game audiences. I would think video game audiences are more likely to be more liberal. And so if a game makes a big fuss out of a character being gay, a video game audience is more likely to more generally go, so what? Why'd you draw attention to that? A lot of people are gay. I'm gay. This hypothetical person I'm gay and I play video games. I love them. Play Dragon Age every day.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like it to get to a point where it is just like that. Where it's
also
not necessary.
The Sims.
But I think we're probably a little ways off that yet. I think we're getting there, maybe another couple of generations, and there'll probably always be there'll always be one or two holdout like racists and homophobes loitering around because it's a result of, you know, feeling powerless inside. So you manifest your self-hatred into other people and things.
I suppose the thing to do is just make a game character who's gay, and just, you know, just when it comes up, like when discussing a sexy lady. If that happens. Or maybe, that'd be great. If you do one of those things where you have a sexy lady who's really supercilious and uses her sexuality to control men, and then you tries to use that on the protagonist, and he goes, "I'm actually gay, madam." that would be relevant, and that would be funny.
Work on me.
When you make that game, and then someone interviews you and saying, "Do you think it was courageous to have a gay person in it?" And I was like, then you say something like, well, you're the one drawing attention to it, not me.
The thing is, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of their attention will be drawn to it. And that's the thing, it can't, no matter what, it's like the cultural cringe. It's there. Because the thought of it is so apparent that you'll either be doing something to defy it or to fit into it. And it's just, it's unavoidable, it's really irritating. So I think someone just has to fucking bite the bullet, just get it done. Like, Marcus Phoenix should be fucking gay.
Let's just say he's gay.
Yeah, Marcus Phoenix is gay.
There's a bit in a game where there's a female character who's kind of got the hots for him, trying to get through to him, but he's just kind of not having it. So that would be easy.
Yeah.
That would be an easy retcon to make.
Maybe Master Chief, they call them Spartans, and the Spartans were big on, not like sexuality all the time, but...
Well, he did have a sexy female wank hologram. I like to think that there were several models of hologram, and he just went for the wank one because he has to do a lot of lonely missions in space.
I don't think a hologram's gonna help with that. Like, is it like Rimmer's hard light hologram? Like, can it do stuff to you and stuff?
Well, it's just so he could have material to look at while he's beating his scarred and armored meat.
Isn't he a clone or something? I
don't know what the fuck he is. He's probably a clone. They all are in that sort of circle.
Why would you give a clone a penis?
He's the perfect soldier. Except he's got free will. Always the sticking point, isn't it?
Can't let him think. Hey, get off me.
I want to see that, like, where you have a standard plot where someone's created super soldiers, and someone said, we also gave him free will, and the general funding the project says, why'd you do that? The scientist says, better drama.
Shits and giggles.
Yeah, better storytelling.
Because I watched Universal Soldier a lot as a child.
So yeah, that's Master Chief. He could be gay. I mean, he certainly...
I'm going Marcus Phoenix. I'm voting Marcus Phoenix for gay.
Marcus Phoenix be gay? Who else? Who else? Well, Gordon Freeman has never made any move on Alex Vance.
Do you think Gordon Freeman, though, is one of those
He might be. Well, the thing, I guess Gordon Freeman's one of those blank characters who just project whatever you want onto.
He's like Link. Like I think he's less of a. He's developed as a character. I think through a lot, mostly through what we've given to him.
Although that whole thing is kind of a bit lost in Half-Life 2 and onwards, when he's sort of given an impromptu personality by the way other characters act around him.
He has an implied self.
Like there's a scene in episode 1, I think, where Alex Vance tells a lame joke when you're fighting through the underground with her.
Yeah.
And she...
Slimer's dickhead cousin.
I think it's when they find a zombie Combine soldier.
Zombines.
And she goes, well, that would be a zombine, right? Right? Okay. And then she just sort of like reacts as if Gordon Freeman's just staring at her blank face. Which in itself grants a little personality.
I think that was a result, like the first, like, I don't know, I struggle to remember the first Half-Life accurately now. So there wasn't much in the way of that, really. In
no, there was no, well, the thing with, there was no application of personality to Gordon Freeman because there was no other personality in other characters.
That's what I thought.
It was just the same 4 scientists copy-pasted a million times, and they were just there to be exposition deposits.
Hello, I'll open this door. Ah, I'm dead.
I wonder if that's not a better approach for a game with a silent protagonist than the Half-Life 2 great amounts of characterization.
Do you suppose... Because I've always thought Legend of Zelda gets away with it quite well.
So I think Portal gets away with it as well.
Yeah.
Because what Portal does is that basically... I think... Remember...
It's you and one other thing. And sometimes that thing's not even aware you're there.
Well, I remember hearing an interview about Portal while they were asking why the main character never speaks, and that's because, you know, she's basically regarding everything with the silent contempt it deserves. You're not really a central character in that. You're just a reactionary character that all the characters are just sort of working around. In Half-Life, it's different because Half-Life, Gordon Freeman is supposed to be, you know, the messiah.
Yeah, and doing stuff that involves social interaction.
He's built up as a dynamic character, despite not having any actual character traits.
I mean, would you talk back to GLaDOS? I would, but then I'm just, you know,
Well, I'd want to know why the hell I was locked in this facility and when I could leave. That would be the pertinent aspect of my conversation.
Let me out. I love you.
That would be a slightly bipolar test subject you're describing.
I would absolutely try that. Yes. I think GLaDOS could absolutely easily be seduced. I bet she's like completely... Just a little bit of compliments, like it'll be the girl with low self-esteem. Like,
I think if anyone
You're pretty, really?
If anyone could seduce her, it would be the sniper from Team Fortress 2.
What makes you say that?
Because the voice actors are married in real life.
Alright.
Interesting fact.
Fucking just...
So, you brought up Link there. Do you think Link could be gay? Well, he's halfway there already, isn't he?
I think Link's an empty to me. Link's a vessel.
Well, I was going to say he wears tights, but that's not gay, that's effeminate. Must be politically correct.
Screw that. I think, you know, I'll paraphrase Stephen Fry about people who get offended, and it's just so fucking what?
Yes, well...
You empower other people when you throw a tantrum about what they say. Like, short of someone getting in your face, it doesn't fucking matter.
Alright. Just answer the question: do you think Link's gay?
No, I think he's an empty vessel. I think he's of no sexuality.
All right, here's one for you: Luigi.
Luigi? I think Luigi's gay.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, I remember like the Manabar once was doing a thing for the Fortitude Valley's Big Gay Day, and I wanted to do a poster of like celebrating the great gay characters of gaming, and I wanted Luigi and Duke Nukem to be on there.
Younger brothers often tend to be, especially when like the older brother is a more...
Fucking this is taking ages and it's annoying me.
Yeah, it's... You continue to be shit at games, I see.
It's a fucking...
It's not hard to predict where he's going, you know. Patterns seem quite obvious to me. So are these ghosts just like the actual ghost, and the bigger ghost was like a disguise?
It was like the little phantasm that was causing all this.
Or was the big ghost pregnant with the little ghost that
I don't know what ghost reproduction cycles are like. You know what? There is probably a website we could look at right now that has a whole big detailed list of...
How the hell would that even work? How can you create life from two dead things?
Well, I don't think the ghosts in Ghostbusters were ever really adequately explained in terms of...
Who is talking here?
We got a story for marshmallows.
What? What?
I'll do the same to you.
That's not the story of the Marshmallow Man from the films. They just made some shit up. Well, they got his scowl down. Yes, there's something particularly horrifying about the scowl that the Marshmallow Man has. It's all those lines that appear.
Yeah. His big, puddiny, soft face suddenly just...
So I think Luigi's gay. I mean, they're trying to make it canon that he's like Princess Daisy's boyfriend.
Yeah, but
there's never been much evidence of that.
They're like girlfriend and boyfriend, like a 50s fucking abstinence pamphlet. Like, they're non-sexual. That's a non-sexual relationship.
Well, the first evidence for that is that Princess Peach was Mario's golf caddy in Mario Golf, and Princess Daisy was Luigi's golf caddy in Mario Golf. Yeah. But that could mean they're just, you know, that Daisy's a fag hag and likes to go shopping with him. Maybe they're just adults who can be seen together without it assuming they're in a relationship. How about that? I've never bought Mario and Princess Peach being in a relationship either.
Well, no, again, it's that kind of, you know, it's a Mormon like pre-marriage relationship where she's your best gal.
I see Mario.
Are you dying? Am I hurting you? Fuck you.
I kind of see Mario as being more in a sort of indentured servitude sort of relationship. I mean, she goes back to her abusive spouse, Bowser, and then starts regretting it and rings up Mario, whose entire job in the kingdom is this.
So Mario's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's like you know how Henry VIII had a guy whose only job was to wipe his bum.
Really?
Like that.
Huh.
Mario's only job is to be the princess's nice guy.
They've abducted the other Ghostbusters.
Oh no!
Oh, whoa! You gotta listen to me, Marty.
Was it him?
Yeah. Tell me, there we go. It's Egon's grandpa that we've never seen before.
Okay then.
Oh shit! The main villain's name is Arthur.
Is he a king of somewhere?
No.
Oh well.
I bet he's played by I bet it's like Lewis Tully's cousin or something.
Do you remember that cartoon series about a modern-day football player who went back in time to King Arthur's court?
Yes.
And then had to be King Arthur.
Not in much detail, but oh, that rings a bell. I generally gauge like how well I can remember old cartoons if I can remember the opening theme.
I don't remember the opening theme. I just remember it was that sort of Dungeons and Dragons sort of class of Saturday morning cartoon.
I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
That was another early serialized one. I love the old...
All that bewitching our kids, I love it.
Yeah, like I love the old serialized animated series. And then like fucking the X-Men animated series kicked off and that was great, and...
Nathan Drake might be gay.
What about some lesbian characters?
Okay, fair enough.
Because we can't just presume, like, you know, gay to always mean... I mean, we were speaking from our point of view, so gay is like dudes who like dicks.
Oh, Princess Daisy then. Princess Daisy might be a big leser.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I don't know, it's hard applying sexuality.
Wait, is it alright to say big leser?
Sure. Because if you're going to get offended by that, you have to presume this whole big long discussion we've had about sexuality and how it's, you know, honest and good is meaningless in the face of saying the word leser.
Yeah, I've never liked the idea that there are some forbidden words.
No words
without context, you're just not allowed... Despite all context, you're just not allowed to say under any circumstances.
No, words have definitions, context gives meaning. You're not allowed to...
You have to be able to discuss the word to discuss why we can't say it.
Well, then, again, why can't you say it?
It's like that guy who burnt down that temple in classical antiquity because he wanted to be famous. I think it was Heraclitus or Herodotus, someone like that.
No, Herodotus was Greek. Well,
it might have been
now
Greek.
I'm getting all blurred up.
I think that was it was one of those two. I think. But basically, his punishment, because he'd done this to be famous, was to be stricken from history. His name had to be stricken from every record, every statue, every plaque, everything. But unfortunately, we know about him now in the future, because it's very impossible to wipe out all evidence of someone without also writing down their name somewhere.
Yeah. Nobody remembers Steve. Jesus,
Yes.
What did Steve do?
So if you know, faggot is going to be a problematic word, we have to be able to say it, or we're just going to be running around in circles, aren't we?
Well, that, and again, it's... what's his name? George Carlin had a good thing about it, and you know, some people have said it where it's not it's not the word, it's the emotion that goes into it. Are you saying it with hate?
Yes.
Because, you know, again, like, you can't ignore context. That's because context is where the meaning fucking comes from. That's...
What about setting off people's triggers, Gabe? Intention is no object in such cases.
See, here's
you
the
made
thing.
someone feel bad, and that means you're a bad person.
No, because I used to have fucking loads. Like, I had such bad anxiety disorder. Like, going outside was a fucking trigger.
Yeah,
you know problems those are?
Yes. If you'd like a recap of this discussion, watch the Quake 2 video.
But no, I mean, I'm not going into that much detail on it, but the triggers are yours. They're your problem. You need to eliminate those.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything can be a fucking trigger. And it's not the world's responsibility to dance around them for you.
If you remember a bad thing because somebody said willy snaps.
Yeah, then blue can be a trigger, like the color blue. Like
a lot of people are going to be saying willy snaps without any intention of offending you all throughout society. Whenever willy snaps come into... I'm just distracted by the thought of what a willy snap is.
Sticking your penis into a mousetrap.
That'll do. And of course, I mean, it's on you to fix this psychological ailment that you have.
Because I knew a girl that was literally like terrified 2 tiers of the Yip Yip aliens from Sesame Street.
You know, I'm not scared of them, but I can totally see why somebody would be.
I know, yeah, I was of that opinion too. Like, they don't scare me, but I understand why.
There's something very, very unnatural about them.
Yeah, it's just something funny, something peculiar. I bet you could do a fucking cracking impression of those things.
I haven't seen it in a while, actually.
I don't know, in my mind there's a great, you can do a Yip Yip, but you're pretty much almost a Yip. Fucking Slimer, you're not helping. But yeah, like 2 tiers, she would cry. And I got another friend, like, you know him, like Big Nick, who's shit scared of midgets. Like, literally, like, honest to God, like, you know, like you seeing a huntsman spider crawl out from behind your bathroom, like your towel rack.
That makes sense, because Nick is a big man.
Yeah, and so he's like, honest to God, terrified of midgets. And here's the thing, like, just because you feel a thing doesn't mean it's valid to feel it. And you have to get control of those problems.
Yeah.
I don't think you're allowed to go through life being scared of midgets. I don't think that's right, because those are people. You're not allowed to treat midgets like fucking huntsman spiders. That's weird.
Yeah, this goes back to the Peter Molyneux thing.
Huh?
I mean, if you realize you have a problem, the first step, of course, is admitting you have one, and it's good to recognize that you have one, but it's not the only step. You can't just expect everyone to just accept now.
Damn it!
It's like, I always hate when you know, people just accept insults. When you insult them and they just say, haha, yeah, you're probably right. Because these people are impossible to correct. If they're thick and ignorant, because they don't like do the research, and you like draw them out, and they go, yeah, I'm pretty thick. I just don't like reading. It's good that you admit that, but you have to get over it now that you admitted it. You can't just wear it now.
I'm an alcoholic. Drink, please. There's other steps to this process.
If you eat 6 cakes, you're gonna be fat. Oh, I know. I'm so fucking fat, aren't I?
Drinks. Yeah, like
It irks me. I mean, I have problems, and someday I hope to be over them. I'd like to think I'm making progress, but I wouldn't just say, like, expect everyone to roll over for it.
Well, that's the most you can, you know, fucking hope for. Is it's slow, and you know, sometimes the progress is in weird fucking bursts.
And hey, sometimes flooding, I believe is the term, can be therapeutic. To be exposed to something that unnerves you. Like, I used to have a much bigger problem with talking to people I didn't know on the phone. Since I moved into a place by myself and had to sort out the phone and internet and electricity by myself and had to talk on the phone to strangers, and I realized it wasn't going to get done until I did it, I found I did it quite easily.
A little bit of time in the deep end can work wonders. I mean, I used to be...
Not always. Sometimes works, no, it doesn't. Hey, it's Death! It really is a Metroidvania game.
Hi, buddy.
Except more with the emphasis on the Vania now.
Vania!
You do realise, Egon, that if you kill this guy, you're out of work. There will be no more death and no more ghosts.
Like,
you just don't think, do you? It's like the brain drilling thing all over again.
Yeah, you're probably lucky Venkman stopped you from doing that.
He's even got Death's Castlevania attacks. The whole, like, circling scythe blade things.
To be fair,
this is blatant. It's blatant, I tells ya.
Plagiarism. Well, that's the thing. Like, bar work for me was help me get over, you know, my crippling fucking socials. Like, I couldn't talk to people.
This had better be the final boss because, as I say, there's no more work after this.
Maybe it's not death. Maybe it's just an upstart ghost who...
Is it the final boss?
No, dude. There hasn't been, like, a little conversation where I fucking tell Arthur he can suck a bucket of old hobo nuts.
Well, I suppose there are ghost skeletons, and maybe some of them just decide to wear a black cloak out of fashion choice, and maybe some of them also happen to carry a scythe because they were very attached to one in life because they were an Amish farmer.
Would that be like you? Oh, Jesus, that's a one-hit kill.
Blimey.
Fair enough. That's
Was this ever a coin-operated arcade game?
No.
Well, I'm out of explanations then.
This is an old Mega Drive game back when this shit was, like, fucking tough. It was just like, fuck you, here's a hard game.
Well, it was always hard.
I didn't want to do that yet.
It was always hard back then just because games on consoles aped arcade games.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason a lives system exists. Because they want to steal your quarters.
What would your thing be if you were Hollow in Anor Londo, like, you know, or in Lordran? Like, what weapon would, like, Hollow Yahtzee hang about with and glower at a corner with?
A halberd? I don't know why I like halberds.
So do I. I like poking.
I think they're a good first time through weapon.
Yeah,
because I used it on my first time through and it made several bosses easy pants.
What's going on?
What happened there? There was a bit
I don't know, there was a slowdown.
I hope that doesn't fuck around with the video record.
Yeah, it's the video record glitching. It's us not getting done.
Hope that doesn't displace the soundtrack. So that now we're talking about something completely different.
There's an energy bar, it hasn't gone up or down, and I don't know what it does.
Oh! Solaire in Dark Souls. He's gay.
Is he?
Well, it's implied.
Oh, I don't know.
There's a bit in, I think the second time you meet Solaire in Anor Londo at the fire in that room. If you talk to him a couple of times... Whoa, blimey! More fun with the ball-based system of animation. But if you talk to him a second time, Solaire says, "I didn't know better, I'd say you were attracted to me." Oh, forget I said that. Well, I think he does that if you're a woman as well. So maybe he's just pansexual. Anything that moves, Solaire. Anything that moves.
Well, I mean, if you were in, like, that circumstance, you'd be pretty much just...
Yeah, like, you'd want...
okay, so the energy
you'd want desperate, life-affirming sex with disgusting, undead, dried-out beef jerky men all the time as well.
Probably wind up hitting on the lady that sells you, moss.
I reckon, I mean, regardless of the context of the statement, I reckon Solaire is gay. He seems like the type. It's the way he talks.
Solaire, alright, so there we have another addition to genuinely gay video game characters.
Yeah, and he didn't have to make a big song and dance about it. Who else?
Down I go.
I mean, I remember there was a point made in the Mr. Plinky review of the 2009 Star Trek film, where it seems like every single male character, the film makes a point of showing that they're not gay. He refers to it as every character having a case of the not gays. Of course, Captain Kirk doesn't have a love interest in that film, so they just make him a big, Lothario. But then that's Captain Kirk, yeah. They give Spock the love interest with Uhura, even though that doesn't seem like a Spocky sort of thing to do, but that's
his human side. Oh no!
Oh no! It's Ghost Bill Murray. This'll teach you for not returning my calls, says...
This is for not coming back for a new Ghostbusters film, and now I'm dead.
Grr. Well, he came back for Ghostbusters the video game.
That is weird, like, that he did.
And I think in Ghostbusters the video game, they used a concept they were going to use in the third Ghostbusters film.
Oh, where he dies?
No.
Oh, what?
I can't remember now.
Am I hurting him? I'm not sure what's going on here.
It was I think it was a couple of just ideas rather than a grand plot.
Because I remember reading that they were going to have him die early in the Ghostbusters.
Well, these scripts go through a lot of rewrites.
That is true.
What were we talking about?
Gay characters.
Yes.
We're deciding, yeah, we're deciding once and for all who the gay video game Illuminati are.
Well, did we come up with any lesbians?
Alright, yeah, no, that's right, we got onto that and then we stopped, which I think was, that's remiss of us.
Well, we're male and have less understanding of the female mindset.
Well, that and, there is a dearth of... See, the immediate response is to go, like, Samus, but I think Samus is completely asexual. I think she views humans as weird and alien.
Yeah, well, she was raised by cosmic bird people.
Yeah. I don't think I'm hurting him. I think that's
presumably her portrayal in Metroid Other M notwithstanding.
That doesn't count. Ah, we go.
That's not my Samus.
No, that Other M bullshit's not real.
Fuck that 5 foot tall daddy issues riddled thing.
Yeah, I'm not. That is not.
Not my Samus.
No, that's not canon as far as I'm fucking concerned.
Well, I guess this is part of the problem. There's so few prominent female video game characters we could mark out as a lesbian.
I think maybe the Ellie from Last of Us when she becomes an adult.
Is that just wishful thinking on your part?
Why would that be wishful thinking, man?
I don't know. Maybe you're picturing a girl-on-girl action with Elizabeth from Bioshock Infinite.
I'm sure the internet's there to picture that for me.
It's a daddy issues gangbang.
I don't know. See, I don't fantasize much about I don't fantasize. I think about like the girl at the Boost Juice who's really pretty and asked me how I was going once.
Ew.
Well, I don't know. Like, what's the point of fantasizing about like people you're never gonna meet?
I was talking about hollowed Bill Murray and the ghost that came out of his nose.
Hey Bill, I just sucked that thing out of you.
So how far through this game are you?
Getting close to the end. There's like, after this, there's like a sort of evil land.
Because we're over an hour, but if you're gonna, if you can finish it fairly soon, we might as well try to finish it.
How far over an hour are we?
We're at 1 hour 6 minutes. We don't have to be completely bound by the 1 hour time limit. Although I shouldn't say that, because then everyone will be saying, "Oh, why don't you put up 2 hour videos from now on?" Because I don't want to put 5 billion gigabyte files on my drive. All right.
Oh, that and uploading these things takes like fucking how long?
Yeah, well, quite a while. How long indeed? Well, this won't be so bad because it's low res.
Damn you little fucking zombie bastards.
Quite.
Well,
I think as men, we find it easier to recognize what men could be gay than we can what women would be gay. Because you can't tell, can you? That's the thing. Every sexuality could be represented by any kind of personality. It's not like there's a certain kind of character that always has to be lesbian or gay, is it?
It's almost like they're people.
I mean, gay people can have any traits, really. We could just say, maybe Lara Croft's gay. Who knows?
I absolutely would believe that Lara Croft has had like a lesbian.
Well, this is the point. You could believe it for any of them, couldn't you? Because it's not like you get like a big sign grows out of your head the moment you come out, saying
the Crimson Letter,
saying I'm a fan of the.
I've been struck gay.
I'm a fan of the open brackets war close brackets man. See, it's a gender neutral sign.
I want to touch your bits, similar bits. Fucking goddamn weird teddies.
I want to touch your bits with my bits. I have a very poor understanding of how gay sex works. So yes.
Fucking glad I got infinite lives on this.
Perhaps to even speculate on who's gay or not is to completely miss the point.
Well, I mean, to approach the actual topic again, like we were. In terms of making a character it's always that I think it just has to be done and got out of the way, not because it's something that should be diminished, but because it's going to be a big deal and difficult to deal with, honestly.
Well,
because of that cringe factor, because of that fucking part where everyone's so hyper aware of it.
Well, it's the trouble with the way games are made these days. Like the big name marketers are gonna if there's any way they could squeeze a bit more money into it, they'll take it. So they say, well, we'll be losing like 2% of sales if we make the main character gay. Best not to risk it. We want all the money.
How much? I think gay people have money. As far as I know, gay people have.
Gay people have money.
Yeah, It's like when they say you can't market shit to women, and it's like, women fucking buy stuff. If you can't market shit to women, you suck at marketing. You're the worst at your job.
Do you know that Ian Fleming genuinely believed that this was a thing, that gay people can't whistle?
That's awesome. That is... How the fuck do you come...
It's just one of those, you know, that's what your statement, you know, gay people have money, that's what it made me think of, you know, those weird blanket statements.
You know, I'm not saying gay people have money like it falls out of them because it's an inherent trait. I'm saying they have money because people have fucking money.
Well, yes.
Gay people can't whistle I'm not...
Gay people have money, they might not necessarily buy as much video games as straight people because there's not so much representation.
Honestly, that's the silly thing is if you made like a video game with a decent gay character in it, gay people would probably buy it just to go, hey, I bought the game with the decent gay character in it. Like, you probably get a big pile of the pink dollar or
well, you know, as I say, a gay person can have any character traits. They might just as easily be into the character if they were straight.
Well, yeah, but you know, if Marcus turned out to be gay. Is gay. I believe he is. Bing!
Well, it's a bit late now, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, what you want to do is you do the sort of the Dumbledore fast one, as it's called. Is like immediately after everyone's read it and enjoyed it, you just go, "Ha! He was gay all along."
The Dumbledore shuffle sounds like a great gay technique.
You can't really retcon that a few years down the line. That just seems like you're trying to grab headlines.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too. I mean,
well, can we consider this whole issue fixed?
Yeah, sure.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome, the gays.
You're welcome, the gays. We have officially fixed the world for you.
There'll be no more hassles from here on in. Everything's just gravy and houses.
We asked no reimbursement.
No, we're just doing this for the
selfless. You know, when we come to your delightful Italian-style bistros, maybe give us an extra couple of stamps on our coffee card.
Yeah, that's...
Anything further to add?
Well, what really can you add after you've tackled all prejudice?
I'm secretly gay as well.
I'm a lesbian.
Well, you kept that quiet. Bye-bye, everyone.
Toodles.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really like that as a final joke.
Does it? See, now you're forcing it. It's got to be natural.
All right. Well, let's just keep talking until we force a natural conclusion out of it. Then.
Look, a fucking giant clitoris is attacking me.
Oh well, we could just go for the classic sudden ending. Hello, listeners.
Hey, viewers.
And this week, in fond tribute of the late Harold Ramis, Gabriel has decided to play Ghostbusters for the Sega Mega Drive for us.
The first really good Ghostbusters game.
Why did I introduce it on your behalf?
Tell me. You just seem to come out of the gate like just...
Tell us about the game.
Okay, well, there was a few Ghostbusters games. You will remember the one on the Commodore 64, the Atari...
I certainly did.
Yeah, the Atari 2600, the Master System. They all had the same basic Ghostbusters game, and it was fucking terrible.
Ghostbusters for the Commodore 64 was one of the first games I remember having digitized voice clips with C64 sound. Which you can imagine what that sounded like.
Yeah.
It was something like, "You slide me!"
It was not a good game. Like, you know, for its time, it wasn't shitehouse horrible, but I don't know, I didn't really ever like it.
Well, I'll say this for this game so far. The characters look more like they do in the film than they did in the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Although Egon kind of looks like he's drawn his glasses on with a Sharpie.
Maybe you did. And so this was on the Mega Drive. Although, like, for some reason it was incredibly racist and got rid of, Winston Zedmore.
Well, they'd have to have used a whole different color palette for
him.
Which
would, as I've been told, double the cost of the game. Like, adding black people to games is just so expensive, that's why they don't do it.
You know, this is something I was wondering the other day. Feel free to start.
Look, it's a little super-deformed shooter platformer that has actual ghosts and stuff, and it's
That's
fun.
Fucking adorable.
Recently, there's been a lot of ghost activity happening here and there.
Well, why are you telling us? Oh, that's right, we're the Ghostbusters. That's our job.
I think Aykroyd is just nailed in this. They've got that Aykroyd-y face.
What was I saying? Oh, yes. The thing I was wondering the other day is that I seem to remember not too long ago being taught that referring to black people as coloured people was politically incorrect. Is that the case?
It's personal feeling.
Because I remember being told that. I remember being taught that even. But now I'm that's
the bomb button.
On the internet, I keep hearing about the phrase "people of color" being the accepted phrase now.
Ignore the internet. Ignore the accepted phrasing. Look, here's the thing. it'll change from person to person. Some people will want it one way, some people want it the other, and ultimately what you're dealing with is just personal feeling. So I think you have to like analyze it and see, is the person saying something with hate, or are they saying something just because that's the term they think that people want? And the term changes all the time.
Well, I suppose, but the problem with using coloured is that it implies that there's two kinds of people. There is white and there is everyone else. And white isn't even that white.
There's
it's
normal
sort of
and accuracy to the film, the source material, or to reality is not a good idea.
It's always the problem the tie-in runs into.
Yeah.
So are you now fighting Spore Spawn from Super Metroid?
Yeah, but with sort of a comedic bend.
Yay.
Looks kind of like a Muppet. Die. I've got infinite health, so it doesn't matter.
Harold Ramis lent his voice to Ghostbusters, the game, the new one, as well as all the other former Ghostbusters. I'm surprised Bill Murray did it, because Bill Murray is really hard to reach.
He's a bit of a bastard, yeah.
That's one thing I heard, actually, that Bill Murray was kind of estranged from Harold Ramis, like, for the last couple of decades of Harold Ramis's life.
Yeah. Trying to get him to do one or two little things.
Which is a shame, but then Bill Murray is kind of estranged from all of reality in many ways.
It's just,
Oh, that was kind of dark. His eyes fell out.
Yeah, and it also... Bing!
Look at your cheeky Japanese photo snap there. And continuing to look exactly like Harold Ramis.
Thank you very much. This is a token of my gratitude.
Thank you very much, woman wearing towel draped over her head.
I love, like, this is a token of my gratitude. No, this is what you pay me for doing the job.
Yes.
If a ghost tangles with me, it'll be his last mistake.
I always wonder, when I get off the bus, is it accepted etiquette to say thank you to the bus driver? Because I see a lot of people do it, but I've paid the bus driver. Surely our dealings are concluded when I leave the bus. I'm not thanking him for something he's done out of like the bottom of his heart. Sometimes bus drivers have given me free rides, and I've said thank you as I got off, as is fitting. But if I've paid for the ride, well, help me out here, Mr. Socially adept
I
person.
bet hookers love you.
What? Is that how you were taught? Once you get down from table, you have to say thank you so much for this lovely sex.
Well, no, but I mean, I don't know. Is it an effort for you to go like, hey, like I just wave my hand and go thank, sort of acknowledgement. It's acknowledgement, It's treating a person like a human being by acknowledging that they're shared humanity.
Well, when I stand up, it's so that the driver knows I want to get off.
Yeah.
If that's what you mean by acknowledgement.
No, not stand up, but like I just raise my hand as a little like thanks, mate, like kind of a. You don't have to. I mean, I don't think he's not going to shut the door and ask you where your manners are, even though he should. You horrible person. I mean, is this a British thing? Because I had a British girlfriend that said that saying goodbye to the bus driver, thanks to the bus driver, was weird, and then she did it a bunch when she got back to England, and all of her UK friends made fun of her.
Well, I was a little bit thrown.
I think it suits. So basically, yeah, there's a little bit of openness to the game, so you can go out, you can buy new weapons, so you're not just using the little shitty, regular shot here.
So you're basically like a blue-collar contractor who showed up and said, "Oh well, I didn't bring the right parts for this job, so I'll be back on Friday week." Don't put bags over your head, children.
All right, that's not it. That's right. Now I remember. There's a hole you got to jump through.
What's your favourite Harold Ramis film?
Groundhog Day.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, that is.
Because of course he had a much grander career behind the camera than in front.
Groundhog Day is fantastic because after he, the story goes that after his first marriage sort of fell apart, he really got into Zen Buddhism, which, God fucking damn it, which you can really see in Groundhog Day because that is, I mean, so many religions claim it to be a wonderful sort of exercise in their faith. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, when you say so many religions, I'm not saying like the Pope said, "Oh, hey, Groundhog Day."
Well, it does carry a lot of I'd say, slightly irreverent religious themes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like that whole scene where Phil claims to be God.
Well, I mean, it's the the path he takes. He goes from.
It is a traditional sort of deity creation myth sort of story, isn't it? Like the whole gone through the. You have to go through like a sequence of troubles, like the Siddhartha Buddha.
Well, it's the progress from indulgence to self-destruction, and then finally to
redemption.
Yeah, and not just redemption, but like building
and
himself.
enlightenment.
Yeah,
yes.
enlightenment. which is pretty much exactly how I try to run my life these
Yeah,
days.
Jesus never really
and
had...
now look, it's a ghost. Oh, I gotta catch him. Oh, I gotta come in. Ah!
Jesus never really had that arc, did he? He was just great from the get-go. To the point that fucking kings were coming and looking at how great he was.
Shit.
But there's no way to cross the streams in this game. That's the important part.
Cross the streams was a bit of a loosely defined thing in the first movie.
Is there co-op multiplayer in this?
No.
Did you ever play Ghostbusters, the most recent video game?
A little.
They worked crossing the streams into the gameplay.
Oh, cool.
But it was actually really annoying as a gameplay mechanic because you got 3 NPCs zapping wherever the hell they like.
Yeah, that game looked chaotic.
It was chaotic, but then I guess that was kind of the point because that's how the use of the proton packs looked in the films. It looked extremely chaotic. Of course, the problem with that is that it does not make a great game mechanic to be utterly chaotic, does it?
I think there's a lot of situations where absolute...
just by being asked how my day's going by shopkeepers when I first got to Australia. I think we've discussed this in the past.
Australia cares, except if you're kind of brown, in which case you can get fucked.
But anyway, why is it all icy now?
Because I'm in this dude's house, and he said the place was full of water, and then it got really, really cold.
Does this game have a Metroidvania-y aspect? I mean, I see, like, the leave the missions, go to the shop thing, but can you, like, go back to old missions and open new areas?
No.
Okay, then.
Yeah, I mean, there's...
I noticed there
it feels like there would be that, but there isn't.
I noticed there was a map screen, so I wondered.
Hey. That's just how you pick your stages. You go, what's this stage? Oh, this is a house. Yes. That was the most thrilling recap of anything ever. Ooh,
yes, this
house.
is a house.
Would you like some of the intercourse?
I suppose it depends on context. Like, if something very large has just fallen from the sky and crushed your witch sister, the phrase, oh, it's a house, could be said with some enthusiasm.
Ah, it's a house.
So, fucking hell, it's a house!
Fucking doodle-doo. Look at these little guys.
Why are you fighting Dig Dug?
I don't know. I think that's Dig Ball, that's his cousin. Where are you going? Come back. Open up the other spot.
You bastards.
You jerks. Help, Egon.
I don't think they're on board. Is there no way you can destroy blocks? Apparently not.
Wait,
there you go. There you go.
You little rapscallion. Shit.
Now what?
Come on, you little fucking nugget. Take my thing away.
Think about this, Mr. Bollock.
Yeah. I'm done with those. Those look like they're on loan from another game. Like, that's the funny thing about this. Like, there's bits of this that are clearly, like, quite good Ghostbusters inspired, and then bits that are clearly just random little monsters from any Japanese shooter.
I don't recall there ever being an enormously strict style guide when it came to the appearance of ghosts in the Ghostbuster films. There were a lot of wacky looks they had rocking. Well, like, compare, like, the library ghost to Slimer, for example, or to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow. God damn it.
What are your feelings on Ghostbusters 2, the film?
It's the Hangover 2 of the 80s. Like, it's just... I think it was 1991.
Was it?
Yeah, at any rate, it's exactly the same movie.
Do you think?
It's literally the same fucking film.
Well, I always found that whole sequence at the end of Ghostbusters 2 where all the New Yorkers are trying to get very happy very fast. I always found it rather cringeworthy.
Yeah, it's because the movie was fairly butt.
Yes.
Again, it was...
I was about to say it was really gay, but that is the wrong attitude, isn't it?
Completely and totally coloured.
It's a sort of whitey, peachy, pale, pinky colour. It's not white. If it were white, there would be something wrong with you. You'd be an albino. And then, ironically, you'd be...
You hear that, albinos? Yahtzee thinks there's something wrong with you.
Well, ironically,
sound off in the YouTube comments.
Ironically, you'd be prejudiced against more if you were completely white.
I don't know. Again, like, the tantrum throwing over the names is just abysmal. Like, again, like, think about, is the person saying it out of hate?
Wasn't it a shame how Harold Ramis died?
Yeah, well, it happens. He's with the Infinite now.
Still, for this day and age, it was younger than his standard old age death.
Yeah, that's
What was he, 69?
I don't think he was... Was it 69?
I think he was 69, yes.
Wow.
Oh, you turned into an Egyptian mummy.
Yep.
How racist.
Everything's racist. See, that's... It's like the, you know, I do...
And your glasses...
bombs! I'm not getting anything good! Fuck
and
you,
your glasses fly off when you're hurt. That's ableist.
Ah, run away.
Are you making fun of the fact that he has to wear glasses?
Yeah.
That he has a vision defect game? Check your privilege,
You can't
Sega
call it
Genesis.
a defect, man. That's presumed superiority on the part of the functionally sighted.
You're right, I'm sorry. Bodily...
Apologize!
Alternative bodily layout?
Visually interesting. Ocularly unique.
Genetically alternative.
Genetically altered. I like that one.
Yes. That's the new term for Down syndrome, perhaps.
Chromosomally lucky. But yeah, I have an infinite lives cheat on because this.
Of course you do.
Well,
because you're a scrub.
Fuck you. This game is actually a little bit brutal, but in that kind of fun, old-timey way.
So is this the hotel in the film?
No. I think this is called Home Sweet Home. This is someone's house.
And I've seen pop culture convention costumes that pour more effort into the proton pack than this sprite does.
Yeah, it's just a simple little one. Spikes aren't good.
I saw it when he turned his back. It's just a blue rectangle.
That's a Mega Drive, man. You know,
it's like a slab. It doesn't mean
you
couldn't
do a lot with less.
Doesn't mean you could have put lots of little twiddly bits.
I mean, it's impressive they've bothered to render different Ghostbusters and give them different sort of stats. Like, that's...
I suppose. Please get rid of the ghosts. It's your fucking job.
Yeah. I can buy things from a horrible Asian character.
Was this a Japanese developed game?
Yes.
They like their super deformed, don't they?
Yeah.